Hello and welcome everybody. You're in the right place. This is Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, and we're getting ready to start our webinar on the state of entrepreneurship in Ukraine. But I'm just going to give a minute or so, not even a half minute, for people to come on board, and then we will start the webinar. So bear with us. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to press ahead. Let me introduce myself first. Aileen Ionescu Summers. I am the Executive Director of Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. And I'm going to facilitate this webinar. Let me also introduce two other people that have joined us today. Our speaker, Dr. Serhii Apalkov, who is the head of the GEM Ukraine team. And also, we are delighted to welcome Raphael Gaudart, who is head of the GEM Switzerland team. And you will see why that is relevant in a moment. I just want to very briefly, so welcome Serhii and Raphael. Thank you for joining us. Just want to very quickly, for anyone who does not know GEM, just to say what GEM is. It's a consortium of national country teams that are associated with top academic institutions that focus on research in entrepreneurship, amongst many other things, and that we carry out survey-based research on entrepreneurship around the world. In fact, GEM is the only global research source that collects data on entrepreneurship directly from individual entrepreneurs. That is, if you like, our key differentiation factor at GEM. So our adult population survey provides analysis on the characteristics in motivations and ambitions of individuals starting businesses, as well as looking at social attitudes towards entrepreneurship. And the National Expert Survey looks at the national context in which individuals start businesses. We call these two surveys, on the one hand, the APS and then the NES. So you will, in this webinar, hear reference to APS, Adult Population Survey, and NES, National Expert Survey, quite a lot. So I want to just say a few brief words on the background on how GEM Ukraine was created and funded, because of course it's a very surprising thing that there would be the possibility to certainly, interview individual entrepreneurs directly in a context of conflict and crisis, if you like, and also to interview Ukrainian experts in many fields of activity. So many interviews that were carried out by the team. It really is an amazing feat, and congratulations to the team, actually, Serhii, for having been able to do that. You've had challenges that our other national teams. We have 60 other national teams, and I don't think any of them faced the same challenges as yourselves. So congratulations on that. I was approached by Serhii and Victoria Apalkov, who were very passionate about entrepreneurship in Ukraine. And the question was, how can we get GEM Ukraine created and funded in double quick time? And that's when our colleagues at GEM Switzerland came in to help. because I think maybe Raphael, you can talk about very briefly about the interest that you had in Ukraine. Can you just say one or two sentences on that? You need to unmute yourself. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Eileen. Indeed, it was a moment ago when you approached our GEM team leader, Professor Rico Baldegger, who is in charge of the GEM Team Switzerland. Of course, we are a team. We are part of this, and it was this sad situation that we all have heard from the media, what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. So it was an internal discussion. How can we support a country who is passionate about entrepreneurship? You mentioned it, Eileen, before. Serhii and Victoria, two very passionate persons, and they wanted to conduct this survey. And we are doing the survey here in Switzerland since many years. We know what it needs for to have a successful data collection, and we are here in a safe place, if I may say so. So I just also only we could also imagine how it would be in to collecting the data in Ukraine. So we said that if there is a possibility for us, GEM Switzerland, to support the Ukraine team, we'll do so. That's where you introduced us, these two fabulous persons. And after a first round of discussion, we really felt the passion and about entrepreneurship and the willingness of doing the best efforts to get this data collection done in as good as possible with the circumstances. And that was probably one of the main reasons why we said, okay, we try to get some funds on our end, and then let's support Ukraine, the team to get also to become part of this GEM family.
Well, thank you very much for explaining that. For myself, I think this is a great example of GEM collegiality. And GEM is really a family of researchers. We have about 370 people working out there on GEM research. And this is just a fantastic, unique example of how one of our teams can help another to be successful. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Serhii, right now, because you are going to explain to us some of the results from your efforts. Thank you.
Well, dear Alan, Raphael, thank you for so kind words. It's quite difficult to explain what I expressed at that moment, but okay, let me start. Yes, so dear colleagues, let me thank you for being here and for your interest in our work. Today is an important day for the whole team and me. This is our first study of GEM Ukraine and presentation of its results. And I'm very grateful to Eileen, Raphael, Aurea, Kevin, Rico, and everyone who helped us and support us, all our team in this challenging project for us, of course. And thanks to you, GEM Ukraine has become a reality. Yes, another sponsor of the Ukrainian report and the GEM team was the Institute of Circular and Hydrogen Economy. Institute was created to manage the transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources and focuses on promoting the concepts of sustainable and circular economy around the world and, of course, in Ukraine. The institute was created by a group of enthusiastic scientists who are close to entrepreneurship, and some are entrepreneurs in their life. And therefore, the mission, goals, and objectives of GEM completely coincide with ours. Well, I have a lot to say about my wonderful team at the Institute of Circular and Hydrogen Economy, which I'm happy to lead in this project. Without them, it would not have been possible to achieve the success we have. Victoria Apalkov, she was my leading partner. So Victoria is the president of our institute, Her professionalism and experience played an important role in every stage of our research. Victoria took an active part in choosing a vendor, processing our questionnaires, and monitoring the process of writing report. Natalia Mishko, a member of the GEM Institute team, used her extensive knowledge of marketing and international relations to significantly improve our research efforts. Natalia played a key role in attracting Alexandria International University to the work with our institute, which strengthens the sustainability of our team in the future. She also had the Department of Marketing and International Management at International University. Oksana Tarasyuk, another respected member of the GEM Institute team and board member of the Institute of Circular and Hydrogen Economy, has enriched our research with her depth and perspective. Well, my dear team, thank you so much. I'm really grateful to you for your job, for your work, and for your energy. You invest in this project. Well, now just let me give a few words about we really gathered. Because of external shock of war and a lot of difficulties, the board of members of GEM allowed us to gather 600 respondents for APS instead of 2,000. We were very grateful, but okay, our vendor gathered over 620 respondents. Because of situation with APS, the board and president of GEM asked us to increase number of experts for national expert survey, and we gathered more than 90 respondents for NES. So we're proud that we overperformed in both cases in this year. Well, and let's start from a short description of our adult population survey. As you can see here, that we had balanced audience by gender, comparatively balanced by age, group, income. Also, most of our respondents are employed and highly educated. The big advantage of our APS that is represents all regions of Ukraine despite war. Well, I think we have a really perfect vendor who has managed to do this. Thanks to you. Next slide. The next point of which I'm really proud is our national expert survey. So as I already mentioned, we already gathered 91 respondents from our national experts. And so they evenly represented 9 categories, including government, education, infrastructure, and so on. Also, we had balanced distribution by gender. And next slide. I tried to be short. And now I would like to mention that we first in the history of Ukraine used the methodology of GEM in order to measure stages of early entrepreneurial activities. So as you can see, total early stage of entrepreneurial activities in 2023 was at the level almost 20%, and it consists of nascent entrepreneurs with around 14%. And level of established firms in Ukraine is about 5%. This is base of our APS. Here I would like to show you also very interesting graph about distribution of TEA by region. Obviously, in Ukraine, there are regions directly affected by war. These are south and east, which, who, as you can see, despite war, showed comparatively high level of TEA. Why I consider my attention here? So because the front line taking place in the regions of occupation destroyed all kind of infrastructural objects and so on. It was very difficult, terrible and catastrophic time. And we can see that the highest level of TEA we can observe in north and center of Ukraine. These regions include Kiev and other economically developed territories were attacked by Russian troops and were quickly released. Quickly means near end of April of 2022. And the last region is West Ukraine, who showed the lowest level of TEA. They were not effectively directed by war, but we have to take in mind that the whole territory of Ukraine is the target of rocket and drones attack.
Could I just intervene very quickly there, just to make sure everyone knows that TEA is the total early stage entrepreneurship. Total early stage entrepreneurship. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
thank you, Angela. I just used the abbreviature, sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Well, next. Now, yes, we see that slide. I would like to focus on key findings that we discovered during our GEM study. First of all, our results show a positive societal attitude towards entrepreneurship, especially among women. They have a more positive view on entrepreneurship as a career choice and so on. However, the problem is that women have much higher level of fear of failure and other self-perception of entrepreneurship. That is why we think this could be a point to the need for targeted support for female entrepreneurs in Ukraine. Next. The second point, entrepreneurs are cautiously optimistic about the development of their business in the near future, but many of them expected stability rather than significant expansion. A significant number of entrepreneurs plan to increase the use of digital technologies. Next, yes. The next point is the national entrepreneurial context for Ukraine. Despite the challenges associated with the war, the NESI in Ukraine is at the same level as in neighboring countries, particularly Poland with level of 4.3 and Romania with 4.3, and even higher than of Slovakia. Slovakia has 4.0. The only neighboring country participating in GEM with a significantly higher index is Hungary. They have result 4.5. This shows the resilience and great potential for the development of the country's entrepreneurial ecosystem. A close examination of the components of this index revealed that experts rated aspects such as physical infrastructure and social and cultural norms that support the development of entrepreneurship in Ukraine highly. However, significant challenges were identified in areas such as government policy, business financing, and the transfer of scientific research and development, which have been exacerbated by the war. And next, finally, the final point is related to recommendations of our experts. As you can see, we have a lot of points, but I would like to focus your attention on 4 of them. First of all experts mentioned that it is necessary to take effective actions against corruption. It threatens the confidence of domestic and foreign investors. Secondly, given the additional challenges that military action brings, it is crucial to put in place mechanisms to provide financial support to entrepreneurs. This can include a variety of initiatives ranging from direct funding to facilitating access to credit. Providing entrepreneurs with resources and training on crisis management will help them to effectively deal with the challenges associated with operating in times of war or post-war. The third, Ukraine needs to actively support any initiatives that promote innovation and the application of digital technologies in business practice. Access to resources and training in digital literacy, as well as support for the development of new products and services, will help maintain the competitiveness and innovativeness of Ukrainian businesses. Special attention should be paid to effective methods of transferring research result to promote business development and innovation. So special attention must be paid to supporting female entrepreneurship, addressing the specific problems they facing, including fear of failure, lack of confidence in their own competencies, and so on. This includes developing special programs and new entrepreneurial strategies that provide mentorship, networking opportunities, and easier access to funding. Well, this was a short view I want to describe. And thank you for your attention. Now I'm open to discussion and any questions you may have. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Serhii. That's a great quick overview. And so what I would like to do is I just explore some things with Raphael and Serhii first, and then we will we'll answer some of your questions if they come in. But please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A. And we will try and either answer them quickly ourselves by text, or we can also ask Serhii and Raphael directly. So I'm going to turn to you, Raphael, as you were listening to Serge. Can you share some of your own observations? I know that you have been quite involved also with discussing the national report with Serhii. Your reactions to these findings? Are there kind of any surprises, interesting findings in terms of what you would have expected? Yeah, just would be very interesting to see, you know, did the research meet the expectations? Anything you have to offer on that level? Yeah, thanks.
Sure, thank you very much. Indeed, we were collaborating intensively, especially now at the end when they produced the final report. All the full analysis they were doing by themselves, and I had the privilege, probably being one of the first ones, to getting a glance into this report.
Yes.
And there were many things where I was a bit surprised in terms of positive surprise. When I saw the amount of NES they were able to collect. But out of the findings, I would say that two things surprised me. About the infrastructure, how well they perform on the framework conditions overall. I wasn't expecting that for a region, for a country which is so impacted by the war, that the framework conditions overall are quite good. And of course, there are some conditions where there is still improvement, where we can do better. But as for me, as an outsider, seeing all these pictures in the medias and then seeing the result that the physical infrastructure is quite well still in Ukraine, that's one of those facts that surprised me a lot. And on the other hand, surprisingly, but also not surprisingly, is the fact that females are really motivated and perceive this option, becoming an entrepreneur and doing something for the good of the country. Now, on the other hand, we have seen in the data that Serhii shared with us that the fear of failure is much higher among the female population than the male population. So when we see how this country lives today and how female could leave the country and the male had to remain in the country to serve the country at the front line, I think it's impressive to see the motivation and the determination of the female to say, yes, it is a career choice. Yes, I'm motivated to go into this field of entrepreneurship, and I want to create something good again now, but because I need to create something, so I need to build something for my living, right? So probably men, the ratio of the men is a bit lower because they're either at the front line fighting, or unfortunately they passed away while serving. So I think it was surprising, but not surprising to see these numbers. But especially, I'm a bit sad, if I may say so, to see the high fear of failure rate among this female population, because I think they made so many great things, initiatives, but then having still this fear of failing in a situation which is already bad, is like, hey, anyway, still you can lose, of course, but I understand that you need to build your own wealth. You need to do something for your living, and this contrast was really interesting for me to hear now again, Sergey, and seeing the results in the report. And maybe a third point where I was a bit surprised compared to many, at least when I compare to Switzerland, is also to see how highly educated the population is. Like you showed the data from the NES, if I recovered well, it's like 80% are holding a PhD, MA. So they're very highly trained people, right? So they are aware, and probably the school system is a different one than here in Switzerland, for example, because we see that you guys also, when I go back to the framework conditions that you showed with the spider, you are performing quite well as well on this entrepreneurial education level. So these are the 3 points that I figured out were quite interesting to observe while reading the report. As I said, I had the privilege to have a glance, and today again, Sergey presented well.
Very interesting. I myself made a presentation earlier this year to women entrepreneurs in Ukraine, and I was amazed at the quality of the entrepreneurs and the passion and enthusiasm that they had. You know, in the room, I think that we had about 40 women entrepreneurs that were in Ukraine, and I think that women in the time of war, they take on new roles. You know, it's happened in previous wars. It's happening in this one in Ukraine, where women, the onus is on women to get going and get back to business, you know, and keep businesses going, etc. So they are actually quite amazing. Yeah, I myself was also quite intrigued to see the resilience, nevertheless, of the economy in terms of the infrastructure, etc. So that's really amazing to see. Sergey, what accounts for that, the resilience, do you think? What accounts for that resilience? Yeah,
Yes. Sorry, my microphone was on. But I think.
Yeah.
Well, how about I try to explain this phenomena in condition of war. Yes, let's say Ukraine is quite big country, so we have a big territory, and the most dramatic situation taking place in south and east parts. So it was north and central part, but West Ukraine quite let's say safe in this time, and most of all kind of infrastructure in West Ukraine and central part of Ukraine were saved, and we can say that is one of the main reason why the level of our resilience quite nice, let's say, it's quite nice at that moment, and because in this region, and most of our life now concentrated in central and western part of Ukraine, and of course we can't say the same about south and east.
No.
Because most of everything was destroyed there. And thanks to, say, West Ukraine part and quite central part, we have this phenomenon.
Okay, and so I'd like to turn actually to the challenges that you experienced in carrying out the GEM research. So there's a few things to examine there. I'll come to the National Expert Survey in a moment, where you really carried out a record number of surveys. But first of all, what do you think was the greatest challenge about carrying out GEM research in this context of conflict for you and the team, yeah.
Well,
of the many challenges, I'm sure.
In Ukraine, we have war. So war is a challenge, absolutely challenge. So to provide any,
yes,
for
sure.
any, for any creative activity. This is the challenge, and too many problems, too many challenges. So first of all, it's a danger for life, to be killed or to be wounded for all of the people. Doesn't matter which part of Ukraine they're situated for. So east, south, central, west, because drones and rockets coming from 2022 and never stop, and many people were killed, wounded.
Yeah.
And right now this process is taking place, and you never know who will be the next. So I spent there more than 1 year. So between them, in Kiev, in other region, and it's like that. This is the first
so it's like operating in a climate of fear all the time.
Yes, and the next problem from this depression and how to say, stress pressure, which people have from even. Okay, this is one question when it's taking about 1 month, 6 months, 1 year. Now the survey taking place in August last year. It was more than 1 year and a half. Most of people under serious pressure. So between October of 22 and June, July, August, until that moment, 23 and 24, it was the period of intensive attack, rocket and drones attack. And during 6, 7, 8 months, people don't have any possibilities to sleep quite well, sleep nights.
Yeah.
Because usually they didn't sleep at night, so I knew it by myself. So you try to sleep, but you're waiting for alarm, because you have to catch this alarm, because after alarm coming, you have not more than 5-10 minutes to go out to the shelter and save yourself. If not, everything is possible. In such situation, it was quite difficult to me, because I was searching for that experts. It was quite difficult for me to explain to experts what is GEM, because nobody knows, Global Entrepreneurship Monitors, what is GEM, why it's so important, why it's important to us, why it is important for us in this situation right now, for this moment, for next, let's say, for next month, for next year, for nearest future, for our long-term future, for our strategic future, because it was a challenge. Okay, so when I have a quite nice connection, so vertical and horizontal connections between people from state-owned companies, municipal administration in different parts of Ukraine, in business sphere, educational sphere, it's okay. But there was some situation, like for example, when I was coming for some of them, try to talk about this, to explain this, I start to explain, they start try to thinking about, so alarm coming, alarm starting, so we need to go to the shelter very fastly. During the way from the stage to the shelter, drones and rockets coming, and people ask me, so right in the shelter. So Serhii, you really think it's important for now? So you think I have to pay attention to this? Yeah, I think yes, of course you have. Why? Explain you why. I pay my attention for my energy, my activity. You see, so in the same condition with you, in the same place, in the same time, but we have to do that. Okay, let's try. After we try to do that, they start pay some attention. So next, I will show the question. After this was the questionnaire. That was the second challenge. So the hands up. So, oh God, so it's important. They never see, most of them, me also, never see such serious and detailed question. Next challenge was so let's try. Okay, so I will try. Let's try. It needs time thinking about to create a little bit of creativity again. And this type of human activities was now also under serious pressure. It was really difficult for people, very difficult for them. They try to do that, for example, at home, at office, anywhere. Again, alarm coming, for example. They need to throw this, stop this. John goes out to the shelter after they coming out. They need to do so. And the last thing I want to explain, so how it was, what was the challenge? For example, I was thinking to receive the expert response from one of head of municipal administration, near Kyiv, which was occupied with serious battlefield and so on. So I've come in and asking, so you want from me to pay right now, to pay my attention for that? Yes. To pay my time for that? Yes. So, okay, so help me with some. I say, okay, which kind of problem I can help? So, for example, you're a member of Institute of Circle and Hydrogen Economy, yes, of course. So, help me to solve the problem with heating, because most of the heating destroyed during the battlefield. I said, okay, I will try. I find the producer. He's coming. We need to check the landscape, and we've come to this destination, find a beautiful field, and this man wants to, okay, so I need to walk a little bit to orient myself on this landscape. Come with me. I say, okay, we're coming. In a few minutes, we understand that we're in the field near Kyiv. This is near Kyiv. We're in the field, but it was the position of Russian artillery troops. And in 5-10 minutes, maybe I understand. So we're on the minefield. Minefield. I say him stop.
Right.
We're on the minefield. So now, okay, let's turn back. Look at our tail on the grass and leg to leg.
And retrace your steps.
Yes, back to the safe place. After that, you need near 1 hour to back yourself, move yourself to normal working conditions. So in such conditions, that's to give you point of view how it was and what was the challenges in field. So that's how it was, and that's the main challenges.
Well, these are extraordinary conditions. I just am still amazed that because most of our teams, I mean, the minimum number of interviews for the National Expert Survey is 36 national experts across multiplicity of disciplines. Many of our teams experience great difficulty in recruiting so many experts, even 36. As you have pointed out, Serhii, it's a very long questionnaire. It involves quite a lot of time. And nowadays, in general, whether it be anything at all that you're answering, people don't tend to want to put the time aside to focus. You were very successful in getting your 90 people. I mean, I figure that you must have been very convincing on, the business case for for this. What do you think is the single most convincing argument for a national expert to actually complete this survey for you? What do you think was the single argument that tilted people to think,
okay,
yes, I should do this? Yeah.
Okay. What makes them ready to?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
because you did say they were reticent, they didn't know GEM. You were in very particular extraordinary conditions where it would be excusable that they would say, no, forget about it. But then you got 90, which is, it's extraordinary. Yeah.
I touch, first of all, of course, I touch many organizations, so in different spheres. Yes, business sphere, education, state-owned, Ministry of Economy, and so on. So after all, I explained before, I was successful to give them understanding that it is important for us, maybe not today, tomorrow, but nearest future and our strategic future. What will be the next? Okay, war is today, but everywhere, every war will stop in 1 month. Tomorrow, in 1 month, in 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, nobody knows. But it will stop. What would be the next? What would be after? What our future be? And then you have to explain them that I was explaining, so every one of you, this is the piece of these future makers. This is a piece of future makers, because this war, okay, this, I saw it by my eyes, so I was part of it. It's a terrible war. It destroys everything. So means material and immaterial things. So first of all, people, of course, then buildings, cities, towns, townships, villages, our life, our way of life, let's say, everything. So, and the situation will need from us to build something, to create something new. If it would be possible to renovate something, okay, but build something new from zero means. And we have to think about now and try to prepare ourselves right now, try to create some systems, try to give some solutions for solving many problems will be in the nearest future, but start this work right now, okay, and pay some our life, our time, our activity, our energy right now, today, to have chance create a new life tomorrow.
Right.
Tomorrow, or in nearest future.
Okay. Future-based argument.
From the moment people start understand it, they make the conclusion, okay, that is why me personally, I have to do it right now. Okay, so give me your questionnaire. So ask me what you want to know. So what do you want from me? So just, so I will give you everything. I will explain you and give you all answers for all kind of questions, and just do it by yourself and help for all of us to do it together.
Okay, very, very interesting example of collective passion, to ensure a future. I'm just going to very quickly, because Raphael is going to have to leave us in a few minutes. So I'm just going to ask, because this is directly to both Raphael and Serhii, can the entrepreneurial ecosystems of Ukraine and Switzerland be compared? You did do a little bit of a comparison, but are there any similarities, Raphael?
Good question. What I figured out when it comes to the framework condition is that the social and cultural norms are exactly the same according to the data, which was quite interesting to see that we are, of course, different. We are not in the same level in terms of GDPR per capita. So we are different, definitely. We cannot compare the one and the other country. But when it comes to the spidergram to the spider that you showed, Serhii, which is also in the global report, it was quite interesting to see that we are nailing the same number when it comes to social and cultural norms, which is also quite impressive for me to see that there is such an entrepreneurial culture in Ukraine. I think there is really this willingness of entrepreneurship. You have it through the education system. So somewhere it is also rooted probably in the culture, in the culture of the country, which is quite interesting to observe from an outside perspective. Otherwise, I'm not sure if it's really comparable. As I said, we have two different countries. We are definitely not impacted by the war. We do help as good as we can. There are different initiatives to help the population, to help the country. But politically wise, it is different than, of course, the situation in Ukraine. So I think when we want to compare apples with apples, then it's really hard. But if we go just data-based, then if I just can pin on one, it's the social and cultural norms, which is really the same data or the same number in the report.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Actually, please feel free to leave when you need to, Raphael. I'm going to turn to Serhii now, because there's some curiosity about the recommendations regarding government policies. 46% expressed recommendations in this field. Can you go into a little bit more detail on what is made up of, you know, the government policies and what that means, Serhii?
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you, Raphael, for good words, kind words for us, and I agree absolutely. Yes. So, and now I try to give you answer for the question. So, the biggest one of the biggest challenge and the problem of Ukraine is corruption. Corruption, the serious problem, and most people understand that it needs to be solved very fastly in most effective way to give the possibility for creating power of people to build something better than it was and than we have right now. And we can't do everything only by ourselves and in autonomic way without government, without state policies, without policymakers. Okay, because why we name them policymakers? They provide legs, yes, the way of life in our country, and so on. To explain this, first of all, I want to be back a little bit to Raphael, speech and his answer for previous question. We have different levels in different conditions. So Ukraine and Switzerland, of course. First of all, this is a level of culture, entrepreneurship culture. Yes, Ukraine, very creative and active in entrepreneurial sphere, let's say, in entrepreneurial sphere. But the culture of entrepreneurship here in Switzerland, much higher, unbelievable, much higher than in Ukraine, first of all. Now, and I understand that after the war, then everything or mostly everything will be destroyed, and you can be sure most of things will be destroyed, or maybe everything will be destroyed. Would be the question. So, who and what would build in this territory? And I understand. So we have to use this chance to create from zero, to build from zero, much better building, and improve much better practices in our landscape. And from my opinion, this is a Swiss, first of all, Swiss experience, and let's say Swiss solutions. Could be Swiss solutions for Ukraine, and I explain it. Many people, also for all of these experts, and push them to understand it. Push them understand, and people, of doesn't matter which age, experts, all of them, full of understanding that two categories of audience of people will be responsible for this project, creating new Ukraine. People, of course, people and entrepreneurs from one side, but government, policymakers from another side. And we full of our activity, full of energy to do that. We start to do that right now. Do everything for this. Everything we can do. With your help, we can do much more, and we do that. Now the ball on the side of our government, our policymakers, and even government policymakers will be nearest future on their place in Ukraine. That's why 46, maybe more % of people think so and say so.
Okay, well, thank you for expanding on that. I have a comment here. Well done for getting the APS responses. I have to clarify that for the adult population survey for GEM, we ask for a minimum of 2,000 responses as a sample, and because in Ukraine, in a time of conflict, it's not possible to have full national representation because of the zones where there is extreme conflict. Of course, as you can see, Serhii struggled even in zones where there was not extreme conflict, and there were very stressful situations. Obviously, one would not go into an intense conflict and start doing research. So national representation is not possible. For this reason, we did not include most of the adult population survey results from Ukraine in the global report of GEM, because we have to have the comparative with all other countries that have full national representation. We just used a couple of the indicators, but we certainly did include the national expert survey in the global report, and you will find, you know, the conclusions of that in the global report and the comparative of Ukraine against other countries. But I have a question here saying, I note that nascent entrepreneurs in Ukraine are about 3 times the level of new businesses. What is constraining the nascent from becoming new businesses? I suppose some of those, the ideas there, in a time of uncertainty, I'm sure that uncertainty, of course, when you don't know what your future is made of and what you can depend on, that would be a deterrent. But over to you, Serhii. Do you have other observations to make?
No, first of all, of course, I can agree with it. Yes, yes, it's true. And again,
thank you. Okay, sorry, Raphael left. Yeah,
Raphael left us. Again, it is quite long and not easy way between a business idea and real business and business in practice. It's quite hard, and even in Ukraine, in conditions of Ukraine, to start business, start the business, make it successful, like a start, you know, on startup level, and push him growing up. That's why so the level of, let's say, nascent entrepreneurs and young business and startups are different, 3 times different. So yes, people are quite active, so they thinking about that. And many of them entrepreneurs and their psychology. They're full of business ideas, okay, much more or less realistic, but full of ideas, but not all of them ready to realize it and to start it, really start it and run that business. And first of all, on startup level, one of the most difficult in Ukraine level.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wondered whether it might seem counterintuitive to talk about opportunities in a war conflict situation. But does it seem to you that there are different opportunities that can be grasped, not because of this extraordinary situation of conflict?
Okay.
Sorry. I mean, it seems counterintuitive, you know, are there opportunities now? But I thought I would ask the question anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, at first looking, quite difficult, yes, to talk about opportunities for entrepreneurs in condition or in such conditions of war, extremely hard war. But from another side, which kind of opportunities do we receive? First of all, specific and unique ecosystem right now in an impact of war and conditions of war, for example. Because what do we have? Millions of people removed from South and East territories to the not central part, but to the West, and even abroad to Europe. Many of entrepreneurs with their businesses relocate themselves to the West Ukraine and even abroad of Ukraine.
Okay.
Europe, first of all, to the Europe. And this situation, these these conditions of ecosystem gives us opportunities to research it, to provide research and to understand what pushes them, what makes them successful or unsuccessful on new places, which
Right.
kind, let's so to research and to understand the impact of war for companies and entrepreneurs from one hand, by another hand, to destinations where they relocated for, and that communities, and even companies, entrepreneurs who were there, for example, yes, before war,
Right.
or in which way the competition change, and some and other conditions. So we receive such opportunities to research them, to understand them, and to use them maybe in Ukraine, and not only in Ukraine. So the result of this research, of this work in nearest future could be useful. I think could be useful even for Europe, even to Europe, European countries also.
Right, right. We just have, I just want to clarify for one of our listeners there that when I was talking about the presentation to Ukrainian women, I wasn't actually referring to a report on Ukrainian women. But what I might suggest is to watch this space this year, because we will be producing, as we do every year, a report on women's entrepreneurship. And this year, now that we have the data from Ukraine, we will be able to make some observations on Ukrainian women entrepreneurs in our global report. Plus also, it's important to say that straight after this webinar, we will be posting the national report for Ukraine. And so I think we can invite people to look at the information, any information that you have in there, Serhii, on Ukrainian women. I'm going to have to start wrapping up. I want to acknowledge some comments from one person who made some observations that there was a big shift in entrepreneurs in favor of becoming formal entrepreneurs after the invasion. And there is a lot of need for seed for funding in very modest amounts. Also pointing to women's initiatives. And finally, the same person talking about reconstruction funding, which is already starting to flow in, and asking the question, how can we ensure that the maximum of this funding stays in the country and local economy rather than flowing out to the big multinationals and consultancies? But what I would say about that to this listener is, GEM is not prescriptive. You know, we are not there really to say this and that is the way, this is what you should do. You should do. What we do is we produce the data, we point to and observe the data, of course, we analyze the data, but we leave it to the individual policy makers to make their decisions about what's best for their economies. And so in that case, I just would like to end with one thing, Serhii, which is if you had to point to one thing that one part of the results that can be used by policymakers immediately, you know, even if the conflict is ongoing, what do you think that factor would be? Is something from our results that can be used to good end by policymakers in Ukraine immediately or near to immediately?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for this question, Alan. Thank you so much. Well, what do we see? First of all, makes lesser pressure to entrepreneurs in case of tax agency activity. First, second, reduce the tax pressure. To reduce the tax pressure. To reduce, makes lesser the tax pressure.
Okay.
We see, yes. So we're talking about what we want from them. make lesser pressure from government, from state side to entrepreneurial activity, to entrepreneurial ecosystem.
All right.
Then to provide much more opportunities for entrepreneurs to use for foundation, for easy foundation, to use some funds from international organization which they provide to Ukraine, and not only to recover themselves. We're thinking about some development of some entrepreneurs in different regions. They have interesting, some of projects quite successful and could be successful even in conditions of war. So they need fundings, lesser pressure from the state side and fundings. Next, very important thing, and I'm taking care about it, to installate in Ukraine reality, entrepreneurial life, social, all kind of societies in European. I take it from here, from Switzerland, let's say Swiss social and cultural norms in relationships between, for example, entrepreneurs and state and government, between market and entrepreneurs, also between education system and entrepreneurs, and change a little bit rules between them in creating a better future in Middle East future in Ukraine.
So it seems that there is quite a lot to play with there. Yeah.
Yes, and it is possible for them to do right now, not waiting to the end of the war.
Not wait, yeah.
And I invest my energy to push them. So, okay, yes, of course, you can't build beautiful cities and villages right now, but we can change system like the fundamental things for the future starting right now. And you have to do that right now. That's the area of their responsibility. Yes, and in the result of our research, we show it for that. Look at this, and please try to find a way to do that.
Well, we wish you the very best, Serhii, with leveraging the GEM research with the policymakers. And thank you very, very, very much for joining us today. It's been actually a fascinating overview of the challenges and the results themselves. And I think we hopefully ended on a note of hope that there's quite a lot that policymakers can actually start doing right here and now to improve the situation for our entrepreneurs and also women entrepreneurs in Ukraine. So thank you very much. As you see posted up there are ways and means of, joining with GEM, either as a national team, if you're an academic out there and we don't have a national team in your country, please think about maybe forming a national team and reaching out to us. We are always interested in sponsors for GEM and GEM research. Reach out to us if you are a potential sponsor, and visit gemconsortium.org and explore our site. As I said, the Ukrainian national report will very, very shortly be posted by Kevin Anselmo, who actually set up this webinar, and thank you, Kevin, for doing so. So I say goodbye to everyone, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Aylin. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Aylin. And thanks to your support, we receive these chances to change something, to do something in a better way in our country, and I'm full of energy to do that.
That's great.
Thanks for your support.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone for listening. Bye-bye.